Hi, I'm Alana. For as long as I can remember, my grandparents' oceanfront property in Cape Cod had been my sanctuary. After they passed, they left me two properties in their will: the main beach house where we spent every summer and a smaller cottage nearby that my cousin Vanessa had always admired. The arrangement seemed perfect since I lived in the beach house full-time while working remotely, and Vanessa visited the cottage on holidays. "You're so lucky, Lena," Vanessa said at our weekly meetup at Brewster's Cafe. She stirred her latte precisely, something she always did when discussing important matters. "That beach house must be worth a fortune now." I nodded, wrapping my hands around my mug. "It's not about the money, though. It's home." "Of course," Vanessa replied quickly, her voice rising slightly. "I just mean, have you thought about what you'll do with it long term? It's a lot for one person." "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, noticing how she avoided eye contact. Vanessa shrugged, her gold bracelets jingling. "Nothing, just thinking out loud. Speaking of property, I've been meaning to ask. Would you consider letting me renovate the cottage? Since I'll inherit it eventually anyway." Something in her tone made me uncomfortable. "Eventually? Van, that's not something we've ever discussed." "But Aunt Margaret said—" She stopped abruptly, taking a long sip of her drink. "Said what?" I pressed. "Nothing important. Forget I mentioned it." Later that evening, my phone rang. It was Trevor, my real estate attorney and childhood friend. "Alana, we need to talk. Something strange happened today," Trevor said, his normally relaxed tone replaced with concern. "What's going on?" "Vanessa came to my office with your mother. They wanted me to draft paperwork transferring both properties into a family trust. They claimed you had agreed to it." I felt my stomach drop. "I never agreed to anything like that." "That's what I thought," Trevor replied. "But your mother was insistent that this was what your grandparents had wanted all along. She had documentation, letters, some handwritten notes. Nothing legally binding, but enough to make it look legitimate," I finished his thought. "There's more," Trevor continued, his voice dropping. "Melissa from the county records office called me. Someone inquired about challenging your inheritance based on verbal promises. They wouldn't say who, but it was Vanessa," I said, the betrayal settling in my chest like a stone. "She's been planning this for a while." "You need to come to my office tomorrow," Trevor insisted. "Bring any documentation you have about the properties. Something doesn't add up." Before I could respond, another call came through. My mother. "Alana, honey," she began sweetly. "I've been thinking about Grandma and Grandpa's houses. Don't you think they'd want the properties to stay in the family, for everyone to enjoy?" In that moment, I knew exactly what was happening. The inheritance my grandparents had left me was under attack. From my own family. The next morning, I arrived at Trevor's office with a file folder of documents. His assistant, Denise, greeted me with a sympathetic smile. "He's waiting for you," she said, leading me to his corner office where floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the harbor. Trevor looked up from his computer. "I've been doing some digging. Your mother and Vanessa have been meeting with 3 different attorneys in the past month." "3? Why would they need multiple lawyers?" I asked, dropping into the chair across from him. "Opinion shopping," he explained, leaning forward. "Looking for someone who'll tell them what they want to hear. The good news is, your grandparents' will is airtight. I drafted it myself." I spread my documents across his desk. "Here's everything. The deed, tax records, the letter Grandpa wrote explaining why he left the properties to me." Trevor examined the papers, then looked up sharply. "Did you know your mother's been paying the property taxes on the cottage?" "What?" "No, I've been paying them. Here are the receipts," I said, sliding them toward him. He frowned. "These are for the main house. The cottage taxes have been coming from your mother's account for the past 2 years." "That doesn't make sense. Why would she—" A knock interrupted us as Denise poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt, but Elizabeth Harding is here to see you, Trevor. Says it's urgent." My heart sank. Elizabeth was my mother's best friend and a local realtor. "Send her in," Trevor said, giving me a questioning look. Elizabeth bustled in, freezing when she saw me. Alana? I wasn't expecting you? Clearly, I replied coolly. What brings you here, Elizabeth? She glanced between Trevor and me. Just some paperwork Trevor was helping with. Nothing important. Trevor crossed his arms. Would this be about the market valuation of Alana's properties that you conducted last week? Elizabeth's face flushed. I was doing a favor for Margaret. She said Alana wanted to sell. I never said that, I countered. Well, that's what Margaret told me. She said you agreed to sell the main house and let Vanessa have the cottage, Elizabeth insisted, her voice rising defensively. And you believed her without confirming with me? Your client would be me, not my mother. Elizabeth's professional demeanor cracked. Look, I've known your mother for 30 years. When she said this was all arranged, I had no reason to doubt her. She showed me letters from your grandparents saying the cottage was always meant for Vanessa. Letters? I echoed. Handwritten notes, actually. About how the cottage should go to Vanessa when she turns 35. That's next month, isn't it? Trevor and I exchanged glances. May I see these notes? He asked. I don't have them with me, Elizabeth replied, shifting uncomfortably. Margaret has them. Convenient, I muttered. Hey, I'm just trying to help family sort things out, Elizabeth protested. Your mother's worried you'll sell everything and leave nothing for the rest of the family. I stood up abruptly. That property is legally mine. My grandparents left it to me, not to the family. But don't you think— I think, Trevor interrupted firmly, that this meeting is over. Elizabeth, I'd advise you not to proceed with any property transactions regarding these houses without proper legal authorization from Alana. After Elizabeth left, I collapsed back into the chair. They're trying to steal my inheritance, aren't they? Trevor nodded grimly. It looks that way, and they've been planning it for some time. What can I do? I asked, feeling cornered. That depends, he replied, a calculating look crossing his face. What do you want to happen here? I thought about the betrayal, the secret meetings, the lies. I want them to understand these properties are mine to decide what happens to, and I want them to face consequences for trying to go behind my back. Then I have an idea, Trevor said, reaching for his phone. But we need to act quickly. How do you feel about calling Jordan Reeves? The developer? The one who's been trying to buy beachfront property for years? Trevor nodded. The very one. He made you an offer last year, right? A very generous one, I confirmed, beginning to understand. Is it still something you'd consider? I smiled for the first time that day. Call him. Let's see if he's still interested. 3 days later, I sat at my dining room table when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw my mother's car with Vanessa in the passenger seat. Alana, darling, my mother greeted with her practiced smile. We've been trying to reach you. I've been busy, I replied, not inviting them in. Vanessa pushed past me. We need to talk. I led them to the living room where floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the Atlantic. My mother immediately took her usual seat. We're concerned about you, she began, her voice dripping with false concern. You've been making some rash decisions lately. Have I? I asked calmly. Trevor won't return our calls. Elizabeth says you're angry with her, Vanessa interrupted. What's going on? I know what you've been doing, I said simply. My mother's knuckles whitened as she gripped her purse. I don't know what you mean. The meetings with lawyers, the property tax payments, the supposed letters from Grandpa saying Vanessa should get the cottage. Those letters are real, my mother insisted sharply. Then why weren't they included with the will? Why have I never seen them before now? Vanessa leaned forward. Alana, be reasonable. You have the main house. I've always loved the cottage. And you decided to try to take it instead of talking to me? We tried, Vanessa exclaimed. You never listen. You're so selfish with these properties. I live here, I reminded her coldly. In this big house, all alone, my mother interjected. The family should have access. Your grandparents would have wanted— Don't tell me what they would have wanted. They made their wishes clear in their legally binding will. My mother's facade cracked. Those old fools always favored you. We're just trying to correct an injustice. By going behind my back? By trying to steal my inheritance? It's not stealing if it should have been ours to begin with, Vanessa shouted, standing up. Is that what this is about? You think you deserve my property more than I do? We're family, my mother said, her voice turning placating. We should be able to work this out between us. No need for lawyers. That's rich, coming from someone who's consulted 3 attorneys in the past month. My mother's eyes widened. How did you really think Trevor wouldn't tell me? He's been my friend since childhood. Trevor is young and inexperienced, my mother dismissed. Those properties were always meant to be shared. Then why weren't they left to you? I challenged. Her face hardened. Because your grandfather was a stubborn old man who couldn't see past his favorite. But I'm still your mother, and I know what's best. You mean what's best for you? For Vanessa? For the family, Vanessa insisted. I'm being unreasonable? You tried to steal my houses? We were just trying to make things fair, my mother said defensively. An uncomfortable silence fell. Finally, my mother sighed dramatically. Perhaps you could sell us the cottage for a reasonable price? Or sign it over to Vanessa as an early inheritance? I smiled, something in my expression making them shift uneasily. Actually, I've already made arrangements for both properties. What does that mean? Vanessa demanded. It means I've sold them. The papers were signed yesterday. My mother's face drained of color. You're lying. The closing is tomorrow morning. Jordan Reeves bought both properties. The developer? Vanessa screeched. The one who builds those tacky condominiums? My mother grabbed my arm. You can't do this. Those houses belong in our family. They belong to me, I corrected her, removing her hand. And now they belong to Jordan. He's planning to demolish them next week. I'll contest this, my mother threatened, her voice shaking with rage. I'll sue you. I have the letters. Your forged letters won't stand up in court, I interrupted calmly. Trevor had them examined by an expert. Vanessa lunged toward me. You spiteful, selfish witch! You'd rather destroy everything than let me have what should have been mine. Trevor's timing couldn't have been better as he walked through the front door, followed by a police officer. Is everything okay in here? The officer asked, eyeing Vanessa's aggressive stance. They were just leaving, I replied steadily. This isn't over, my mother hissed as the officer escorted them out. You'll regret this, Alana. 1 month later, I stood on the balcony of my new Boston condo. The doorbell rang and I found Trevor holding a bottle of champagne. Ready to celebrate? He asked, stepping inside. Absolutely, I replied, grabbing glasses. Any news? Jordan's project is moving forward. They break ground next week, Trevor said, pouring the champagne. Your mother is still threatening to sue, but no lawyer will take her case. The forged letters were the last straw. And Vanessa? Left town. She'd been telling everyone the cottage would be hers by her 35th birthday. Now she can't show her face. The doorbell rang again. It was my Aunt Susan, my mother's sister, looking uncomfortable. Can I come in? She asked hesitantly. I stepped aside, exchanging glances with Trevor. Susan perched on the edge of a chair. I wanted to apologize. I had no idea what Margaret and Vanessa were planning. But you knew something, I guessed. She nodded shamefully. They mentioned wanting to correct your grandfather's will. I should have warned you. Yes, you should have, I agreed, not making it easier for her. Your mother asked me to come, Susan admitted. She wants to apologize. Says she realizes she was wrong. Too little, too late, I replied. She's family, Alana, Susan pleaded. Can't you forgive her? After attempting fraud and threatening Alana, Trevor interjected. I don't think that's advisable. She's sorry, Susan insisted. She wants to know if you'd consider helping her financially since she's getting older and... I laughed incredulously. Are you serious? She tried to steal my inheritance and now she wants me to support her? She's not good with money, and with the beach houses gone. That was her choice, I reminded her. She forced my hand. But what will happen to her? To Vanessa? They made their choices, Susan. I made mine. I don't owe them anything. After Susan left, Trevor and I moved to the balcony with our champagne. Any regrets? He asked quietly. I thought about the beach house, about the memories of my grandparents. I miss the ocean, I admitted. But I don't regret standing up for myself. They would have taken everything if I'd let them. Jordan's offer was extremely generous, Trevor noted. You could buy another beach house somewhere else. I smiled, watching the sunset paint the city skyline in gold and pink. Maybe someday. For now, I'm good right here. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Please call me. We need to talk. Family should stick together. I showed it to Trevor, then deleted the message without responding. Family should be honest, I said. Family should respect boundaries. Family shouldn't try to steal what isn't theirs. Trevor raised his glass. To boundaries and consequences, I clinked my glass against his. And to new beginnings. As the city lights began to twinkle beneath us, I realized something important. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about what you take away from those who wronged you. It's about what you refuse to give them. In my case, it was forgiveness they hadn't earned, an inheritance they'd never deserved. Ever wonder what you would do if your family betrayed you? Would you fight back or try to keep the peace? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about standing your ground.